Hi, everybody. It's Maxine Taylor with another edition of Move Into the Magic. And the beautiful lady with me today is a dear friend of mine who I include in my circle of wise women. This is Carrie Hamilton, who is a classical homeopath, and she is internationally known. She's an international traveler. And before we get into the reason I invited her here today, I'm going to give you her contact information because we may or may not remember to do it at the end. You know how it is when you start talking with a friend. Okay, so you can reach Carrie at allworldshealth.com. allworldshealth.com. You can put 3 W's in front of it. You can put HTTPS in front of it, whatever you like. But that is how you can reach Carrie no matter where she is on this planet. And so, Carrie, welcome to Move Into the Magic.
Thank you so much, Maxine. Thrilled to be here with you today.
I'm thrilled you're here. First of all, tell us, what is a classical homeopath?
Absolutely. Yes, homeopathy is at the foundation of any of my healing approaches at this point. And homeopathy is a type of holistic integrative medicine that can feel like a therapy session when you come to see me, because I really want to know about every aspect of you as the person. And then I match that with a homeopathic remedy that you would then take in pellet form over a selected period of time. And it provides a whole body shift. It could be from an ongoing sinus problem you've had your whole life, or a fear of flying, to just an all-over approach to living. It really is a powerful full body shift that you experience. But it's not a hands-on therapy. It is more of a talk therapy. And then, of course, there's an intuitive process that goes along with that, an art of healing approach. And I love it. It's really, I've, of course, had my own beautiful experience with homeopathy that led me to pursue that path.
Tell me, how long have you been doing this, Carrie? I don't think I've ever asked you that question.
Yes. So I'm getting close to 20 years. And I, at least of knowing of homeopathy, having my own journey of an injury that helped me find a wonderful homeopath that's still a part of my life and a wonderful mentor. And almost immediately within meeting her, was put on the path of beginning my studies.
And tell me, do you have a specialty? I know there are many branches and many approaches, but do you have a specialty that you prefer?
Well, thank you. Yeah, the classical aspect, the reason I differentiate that is to help people understand a classical homeopath typically only uses one remedy at a time. There are lots of different styles of homeopathy right now that people are familiar with that they may get in a solution in a vial, and people talk about them as drainage remedies or detox remedies. And that often has anywhere from 5 to 50 remedies in one bottle. And that, to me, can be more of a naturopathic approach of focusing on the drainage of an organ, where I stay with one remedy at a time and truly looking at the whole person and what's going on at that moment. And I don't, a disease diagnosis is information to me, but it's not really relevant to the treatment process. It's specific to the individual. So it's not, I only treat this or that. It does not matter what's going on. Homeopathy can be an aid in all of it.
That's so beautiful. Now, the reason I invited Carrie to come be my guest today, we were sitting at lunch and talking, as girlfriends do. And she said something that I thought was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And those of us who have been involved in healing, whether it's through meditation or energy, it doesn't matter. I thought you all might enjoy hearing Carrie's approach. And what she said was, it's important to use your healing tools as magic wands, not whips. And when she said that, I went, doing. You have to share this with everybody out there. Take it away, Carrie. Explain what you mean.
Yes. So I, like many of us that have come on the healing journey, was through my own experiences and through some of my own challenges of either a broken bone or recurrent throat infections, kind of how I discovered energy healing, which is also a part of my practice, and flower essences and crystals. And, I thought about pursuing acupuncture and massage at a different point, but really settled with homeopathy. And my mother had had a series of very life-threatening illnesses over the past 7 years, and I became her primary caretaker. And we had gotten through one major life-threatening hurdle, and we're celebrating that, a 2-year anniversary of her surviving this major incident of her aorta dissecting, which most people don't survive. And she went in for a routine mammogram and got a call back and said that there was something suspicious in one of the biopsies. And it was literally 2 years to the anniversary of her going into the hospital the first time. And so I said to her, she's nervous. We're wondering about the results. And I said to her, Mom, just know that it's not cancer. Just imagine the cells. I was applying my Louise Hay, my Abraham Hicks, my positive thinking. And I said, you just have to know that it's healthy, that it's clear, trying every use of the language. And then she just turned to me and she said, but what if it is? Did I do it wrong? Did I mess up? Did I not work hard enough to make it go away? You could have knocked me over with a feather. It was a huge, huge aha moment for me that made me realize that these healing tools, these methods, these modes of thinking had become something that I was almost beating myself up with. It had become a whip. It had become, you got to do it right. You got to think it right, or you've screwed up, or you're wrong. It became this very black and white rigidity. And I had that moment when I realized my healing tools have become a whip and they're no longer a wand. And they truly are there for us to use as these magic wands to help us feel lighter, to help us feel connected, to help us feel empowered. But I see this happen so often with yoga, healthy eating, holistic medicine. Anything can be turned into yet another thing that we reprimand ourselves with if we don't do it perfectly, which of course we know doesn't exist. Perfection is an illusion. But in my need to feel a sense of control in a time of fear and stress and loss and overwhelm, I just started holding on so tightly to these concepts that it was like, let's beat it into submission. And I have to say, it was so freeing. That moment, once I kind of realized what was occurring, allowed for such a huge exhale that I then celebrated my mother's journey, because she did end up having cancer and she ended up having a mastectomy and reconstruction. And we did not do radiation chemo because she couldn't endure it. And it was a much longer, more difficult journey than expected. But there was this beautiful moment to say, you know what? This is your journey. This is your ride. And I am on it as your co-pilot, your driver, whatever you need me to be. But I'm not going to dictate your way to heal through this. I will support you in whatever choice that may be. I'm not going to tell you have to eat a certain way or meditate or whatever you need to do, Mom, is what I want to support you in. And that was a beautiful realization for me that has continued to guide me and continues to be something I remind myself of. Is this wonderful new healing tool or way of learning? Is it supportive and inclusive and lightening? Does it feel like magic? Does it feel like a beautiful way to go through this learning process, this healing process? Or does it feel like another way of trying to grab at control and try to think that I can whip this into submission?
Wow. When I heard you say that the first time, and as you're explaining it again right now, I'm applying it personally because, and so many of us do, those of us who nurture others through whatever healing practice we use. particularly through the those of us who are on a more energetic healing path or spiritual path. And I find that I am much harder on myself than anybody else. And if I have done everything that I could possibly think of, I mean, you know, of course, ultimately, I just turn it over to spirit, which is the only way to survive. But what I've seen is early in my healing career, I would say, what have I done wrong? It's not working, because as a healer, I'm supposed to be healthy. And healers are supposed to be healthy. And we're human. We're in earthbound bodies. And these bodies reflect our programming, our emotions, etc. Have you found this to be so? And how do you apply this yourself? Because what I just said, ultimately I just have to turn it over, because I'll drive myself crazy.
Absolutely. I learned early on of the archetype of the wounded healer. Do you know of this concept of the archetype? So I think a shaman that I was working with had shared that with me, and it came up in astrology as well later on. And again, in my earlier years, it was almost like a shameful thing. Oh, I don't want anybody to know I'm the wounded healer archetype. Woe is me. You know, it felt like this flashing sign that I was ashamed of. But yet there was still part of me that knew, but that's who I am, and that's okay. And then, of course, as time passed and life continues and more experience and more understanding and other people sharing perspective, I realized that's a blessing. It's a huge gift, because what this means is my own journey of healing has brought me to this path clearly from a very, very young age. And I absolutely believe I was incarnated with this to do this. I have very strong spiritual beliefs and have learned to embrace it in a different way that's a lot more fun and magical than what am I doing wrong and how can I fix it? Let me fix it. And I've really embraced that, because I see over and over where my life experiences and my own challenges and in family, that is giving me such a doorway into greater compassion, to understand pain and suffering, having gone through depressions and fears, and taking care of a parent in my 30s was very overwhelming, and feeling like, oh, I've got to keep it all going. But then I realized I have such a deeper understanding now of being in that hospital room in crisis and getting life-threatening diagnoses with a family member, and then the toll it took on me physically and my well-being and my dreams and my experiences that I then had have given me such a doorway into understanding. And so instead of it just being talking the talk, I truly feel like I can continue to walk the walk and continue to learn. It just has opened me in a different way. Instead of, like you're saying, what's wrong? What did I do wrong now? I didn't fix it. It's not resolved. It's like, no. This is a journey. It is an ever evolving, ever shifting, and being fixed is not the goal. That happens on the other side when we're done. That's the completion. And that's not what being here is about. We're learning, deeper understanding, and ultimately loving ourselves and loving others more, to allow whatever is to be to unfold. And like you said, leaving it up to spirit and saying, okay, I'm here. What do I need to learn now? Instead of what do I need to fix now? It's what do I need to learn now? And let me enjoy it. How can I enjoy this and celebrate it?
It's almost as if, well, I look at life as a movie, a game. Mm-hmm. And in a game, we try and figure out how we can win, but it's the fun of the game.
Yes. And we forget that. Yeah.
And also with a movie, if you see it as a movie and you see whatever situation you're in now, think of it as, I think of it as a scene in a movie, because as women, we tend to think, oh my word, this isn't working, it's terrible, and it's going to stay that way forever. And so what I do is edit the scene out. And I do that on the cutting room floor, which is in a state of magic, in a state of grace, in a state of love, and you just let it go, splice the two ends together of the screen of the film, and move forward to where you want to be, visualize where you want to be. It's easy to say when you're not involved in a crisis with a loved one or your own situation, but that has just saved me so many times.
It's so incredible because I learned of that concept, and it wasn't described to me that way. However, that a similar way of being came to me, and I understood it, but I didn't believe it. Again, I used to think faking it till you make it, but I don't quite resonate with that anymore, because I've found I can do the positive thinking, but if I'm not feeling it, it's not working. And understanding that, like, we have the ability to write our own history. It was like, yeah. Okay, don't tell your same story over and over, because then you just make that wound deeper and you scratch that scab. Yeah. It was still lip service in my own story. When I finally understood fully that it's all up here, and that I've already rewritten the story to the negative anyway, because what is that whenever we remember something, we're not remembering the original occurrence, we're remembering the last memory of it. So if I have, some childhood story of, let's say I fell off a bike and I hurt my ankle and that ruined my possibility of being a soccer star. If I keep telling myself that, I'm not remembering the original bike ride, I'm remembering when I told it to my girlfriend 2 days ago. When I fully understood that the brain imprinted it that way, it was like, let me rewrite this. I'm going to go back and retell that. Wow, when I fell off that bike, that actually led me to meet that person, which then took me to that university, and then this happened. And even if that wasn't exactly what occurred, retelling my brain that was so freeing. And it's exactly, I've never heard it described that. It's exactly what you're saying. Like, let me go back and re-splice that movie and just cut that part out, because it's not serving me. So let me take that magic wand, rub that back in, and put it where it's a smoother, more beautiful movie, because when I tell that to myself, it is a much more beautiful life. And it is my reality. So why not?
That's the truth.
It's just, I love that. I hadn't heard you share it that way, and that's beautiful.
Oh, well, so glad I could share it with you. And I'm sure there are a lot of you out there who are saying, yeah, I get it. I understand perfectly. Very often when I interview somebody as beautiful as Carrie, I will say, hear it again for the first time.
Yes.
Because you hear it one way or you read it one way, and then when you're really ready to hear it on a different level, somebody comes along, maybe a child, maybe an ad, maybe a billboard, and there's what you need, and you go, aha, there's your aha moment.
It's so cool. It really is, when you think about that brain and how it works and how we get to work with it. It's amazing.
And your aha and my aha that we had over lunch was what produced this show, because I thought, this is so brilliant. So, again, use your healing tools as magic wands, not whips. Carrie, thank you so much for being my guest today. I hope you'll come back again with more of your insights.
With pleasure, anytime. I'm so grateful for you and meeting you and the role you have served for all of us about shining our lights and no more hiding and no more need to. You really planted a seed a long time ago with that. And so I thank you, because it's profound, because truly coming out of our own hiding and shining our light is, I encourage all of you to do that in any shape or form.
And so, once again, dear friends out there, you know my mantra. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Looking forward to next time with you. Bye for now.